Our follower Andy slid into our DMs wanting to find out about her ancestors, and we discovered that she is the 7th great-granddaughter of Charles Springer, a Swedish college student who was kidnapped and sold into slavery. In 1677, a Swedish widow named Beata Springer would send her 19-year-old son Charles away to London to study mathematics and English. Charles was young, bright, and full of promise, but a year later in 1678, Charles did not arrive home when expected. In fact, he never came home. He had vanished with no word and no trace. The family had no idea what had happened and eventually had to move on in life. 15 years later in 1693, and 6 months before Beata would eventually die, she received a letter in the mail from America. To Beata's surprise, the letter was from her missing son Charles. Likely with tears in her eyes, Beata read this letter from her son Charles, stating that when he was departing London back to Sweden, he was kidnapped and sold as a slave onto the ship of Captain William Hunt. He was then transported to the British colony of Virginia and sold as an indentured servant. In his letter, Charles wrote, "I was kidnapped and against my will taken aboard an English ship, and against my will I was carried to America in the West Indies to Virginia. And when I got there, I was sold off like a farm animal that is driven to market. Thus was I sold to labor and held in very slavery for 5 years together. My work was unspeakable. In the summer it was extraordinary hot during the day, and my work was mostly in the winter, clearing land and cutting down the forest and making it ready for planting tobacco and Indian grain, which is corn. I had a very hard master. But now, to God be praise, honor, and glory, I have overcome it all." When Charles earned freedom after his 5 years of servitude, he traveled 400 miles north up to a Swedish settlement on the Delaware River. It was there that he found kindness, got married, and built a life. But unfortunately, Charles would never see his family in Sweden again.